Dear students, in this session we are going to cover a topic. The title of the topic is working with a database in Python using SQLite. So, the point we are going to cover is how to connect a database from the Python program. That is our concept, and the database we are using in this is SQLite. Then before going to dive into the actual topic, let me tell you some points about what is database. A database is an organized collection of the data stored electronically. That is the definition of database. In simple terms, in efficient manner, we need to store the data, and that can be useful to efficient retrieval also. So, that is the database definition, a normal definition. And what is the use of database? With help of the database, we can store the data, retrieve the data, and update and managing the data efficiently. For that, we are using database concepts. Where we use these databases in the real life? Suppose if you want to maintain any student records or student information in the colleges and schools, we use databases. Banks also use databases to store the all customers transactions, customer informations, and in the hospitals also every management use database concept to maintain the all patient details. So, like that wherever you observe, they use database concept to store and maintain the details about their students and the employees or customers. So, this is about database. We have different type of the databases like Oracle database. Oracle also one type of the database, Microsoft MySQL server, and SQLite also. So, how we have the different database? In the same way, SQLite is also one type of the database. And as I covered just now, Oracle, MySQL, SQL server, all are RDBMS. Generally, we use the word RDBMS, relational database management system. The meaning is the data is stored in the form of rows and columns. In simple terms, in the tabular format, the data is stored in the RDBMS. SQLite, that is SQLite, is also a RDBMS, but it has some special characters. We will cover what are those special characters that SQLite has. SQLite is lightweight. SQLite is lightweight. The meaning of the word lightweight in this context is it takes very less memory. When compared with all other RDBMS softwares, it takes very less memory. And the next important character of SQLite is serverless. Generally, any RDBMS software like Oracle, MySQL, SQL server, they use servers to execute. But here SQLite is a serverless and embedded database. So, you no need to install it separately. Whenever you are downloading and install the Python software, inbuilt the SQLite is available. No need to install it separately, as I covered, and it is not maintaining the server. And as I said, this is lightweight. It stores within the less amount of the memory, and this is very fast and easy to use. So, these are the features of the SQLite. Where we can use this SQLite in the real life? If you want to develop any mobile applications, you can use SQLite. Web applications, desktop applications, and small to medium projects, the SQLite is suggestible. If you are working with any huge project, a very large project, SQLite is not suggestible for that. Before implementing SQLite, before writing the code how to use SQLite, first you need to check whether SQLite module is available or not in your system. Then how to check that? Very simple. Open the command prompt and you will get this type of the image, this type of the environment. I am showing in the form of the image, and after that opening the command prompt, just type Python. Type Python. You will get Python prompt 3 greater than symbols, that indicates Python command prompt. and after identifying this Python command prompt, just type help within the lowercase letters, help within the parenthesis modules within the single quote or double quotes. If you type this code and press enter button, it shows all the modules available in your system, and I highlighted here, observe here SQLite 3. The meaning is SQLite is already available. As I said already, you no need to install it separately, just install the Python software, inbuilt you have this SQLite. Then here SQLite 3, the number 3 means version, SQLite 3 version. Now coming to the concept database connectivity, how to connect to this SQLite database from our Python code. For that we need to follow some steps. Let me tell you the steps involved in this process. First is connecting to the database. We must create a connection to the database. After connecting to the database, we need to create a cursor. With help of that cursor only we can fetch the data. So we need to create the cursor. Third step is, after creating the cursor, you can execute any SQL queries, any SQL queries. Okay, if you want to understand this, you must have some knowledge about the database. What is query, how to write the query. If you have that knowledge, you can easily understand this concept. Then third step is executing the SQL queries, and fourth step is fetching the result. Because the query is executed na, the data to the database, the Python program is going to connect. After that, query is executed. As a result of that query, some result is generated in the form of the result set. So we need to fetch that result and closing that connection. Generally, we follow this flow, these steps while working with the database connection project. Now let me implement these steps one by one. As I said just now, first step is importing the SQLite 3 module. For that, how to write the code? See, import. Import is a keyword which is used to import the libraries or modules. Import space, what is our module name? SQLite 3. All are in the lowercase letters. Okay, all are in lowercase letters only. SQLite 3. So now the library or module will be imported in your project or in your application, and you won't get any output for this statement, because just this is used to importing the library. Internally the library will be imported, that is it. Now second step is creating a database. For that, the code we need to write is SQLite 3, that is module name, already we imported that. SQLite 3 dot connect. Connect is a predefined function that is used to connect a database. If the database is already available, for the database a connection is created, point 1. Second point, if there is no database with the name college, a new database will be created. Okay, you must remember these 2 points. For that connection, I am giving a object name CONN. This is identifier. Okay, you can give any name. I am giving, in this example, I am using the name CONN. The meaning of the word is connection. I want to create a connection from Python program to database. Then what is connection object and what is the use of that? It represents the database connection, and with help of that only we can execute the queries. At the time of the executing the queries, we need to use that connection object name, and that connection must be closed after executing the queries. Next point about the connection object is, without connection we cannot communicate with the database. Obviously this is very simple. Before implementing the any actions, first you need to maintain the connection from Python program to database. Without creating the connection, we cannot implement any actions, we cannot execute any queries. Now see the complete code. I covered few points now. Let me show you that complete concept in the form of the code. First one, importing the SQLite 3. The code is the first statement is a comment line, okay, that is for your understanding purpose. Comment line starts with hash importing SQLite 3, nothing but I am writing this code for the importing SQLite 3. To make you understand the code, I am writing this comment line, right. This is the actual code, import space SQLite 3 for the importing the SQLite 3 module. Next, observe the fifth statement. What is the purpose of this fifth statement? See this comment, connect to a database, create a file if not exist, nothing but I want to connect to a database. If the database is available, to that database a connection is created. If the database is not available, the database will be created with the name college. That is the meaning of that. Then see the code, SQLite 3 module name dot connect method that is used to connect to this database. What is the name of the database in this example? College. And the connection name is, connection object name is CONN. So, for successful connection, I want to display the message to the user, because user has to get confirmation whether the connection is created or not to the database from the Python program. For that, I want to print database created successfully. I want to display that message on the screen as the output of this code. After creating the connection, as I said already, the connection should be closed after completing the executing of the queries. Now, I want to close the created connection. The code we need to write for that is connection object name. Connection object name is CONN. CONN dot close is a predefined function that is used to close the opened connection. So, connection is created, and after successfully connecting the database college, I want to display the text database created successfully. After that, I want to close the connection. That is the importance of this code. Okay. If you execute this code, see database created successfully, you will get that message. To execute this code, I used Jupyter Notebook. So, I also suggest you to implement this code in the Jupyter Notebook. You will get same screenshot, same image, so you can easily understand. Next, creating the cursor. As I covered na, some steps we need to follow. First one is importing, and second one is connection. Third one is cursor. How to create the cursor object? A cursor object is a control structure that enables Python to execute the queries and to fetch the results from the database and navigate to the results. For example, I create the cursor, I execute select query, select star from a table name, okay, and the table have multiple rows. So, with help of this cursor, we can get line by line, row by row. So, that is the meaning of navigate through result set row by row. Whenever a query is executed, the result is stored in the form of the result set. We use the word result set, and cursor is pointing to the result set internally, and it navigates from row by row. That is the use of the cursor object. In simple terms, the cursor is act just like a bridge between your Python program and database. Right? Now, see this, with help of the connection and with help of the cursors, we can get the data. Connection is just like a bridge. Okay? With help of the connection only, we can get the data from the database to Python program. How to create the cursor? Just now I have shown to you a program. With help of that, you can understand how to create a connection. Now, this is the program where you can understand how to create cursor. See, importing the library as usual and creating the connection to the database college.db, already I covered. I am not focusing that because already we covered that. This is the important point in this code. Connection object name, as I covered, cursor is used to create the bridge. Connection object name CONN dot cursor. Cursor is used to create the cursor internally. Okay? And my object name is also cursor. If you get confused because we are using 2 times cursor, you can use any other name here, okay, that is also valid. After creating the cursor, I want to give a successful message to the user whether a cursor is created or not. For that I am writing a statement print cursor created successfully. Then user get confirmed that a cursor is created internally. After that I want to close the connection between the Python program and database. For that I am writing connection dot close. So if you execute this code, you will get the output like cursor created successfully. A cursor is created and a connection is closed at final. Then a connection is created and a cursor is also created. The next point is operations. What type of the operations we can do with help of that cursor and with help of that connection. Generally we use the word CRUD operations. We can implement CRUD operation. The meaning of the word CRUD is create. C means create, R means read, U means update, D means delete. So generally we use the word CRUD operations. So we can implement all these actions, create action or create operation, nothing but we can create a table, and read operation, we can read the data from the table. Update, we can update the data, update the values in the table. Of course, if you want to delete the data, you can delete the data also from the database. So we can implement all these actions. And as I said already, we are using SQL related queries here. Generally we use some queries in the database. Suppose if you want to insert the rows, we use insert query. If you want to create the table, we need to use create query. Like that, we need to write some different queries depending on the requirement. So these are the examples of those queries, not complete query, just I am highlighting the keywords. Then this is about SQL, how to write the query. Then how to execute this query in the Python code. For that we are using the methods. Execute method. The method name is execute. With help of the cursor object, if you call execute method, that is used to execute a particular query. Then while you are working with selection query, nothing but you are getting the data from the existed table. If you want to get only one row, you can use fetch one. If you want to get only one row from the table, you can use predefined function fetch one. Then otherwise, if you want to get all the rows at a time from the table, you can use fetch all, okay. That is about a select operation. Now update operation, update query and delete query and create query. These 3 queries can be executed with help of the execute predefined function. Now let me tell you the data types what we use in the database connection program. These are the SQL data types and a description about these data types. And the same SQL data type, that is SQLite data type, can be implemented in the Python with help of these data types. So if you want to work with the whole numbers in SQL terminology, we are using the word integer. We are writing the complete word integer. But same whole numbers, if you want to work with the whole numbers, in the Python we use only int, the meaning is integer, but we should not use complete word integer in the Python code. But in the SQL query, we must write complete word integer, okay. Then if you want to work with the strings, just like employee name, student name, if you want to store in the database, that values should be declared as a text data type in the SQL query. And same thing will be represented with str, okay, string data type. The string data type, we are using the keyword or class str. Then real values, if you want to work with the floating values in the SQL, the data type is real data type. In the Python, we are using float data type to store floating point values. In the SQL, we are using blob, binary large object. So, this data type is used to work with the binary data just like images. Same equivalent data type available in the Python also. That data type is bytes. Okay, the data type name is bytes in the Python. Coming to the SQL, another data type is null, that is used to represent no values. Null means no values or missing values. Same thing can be represented in the Python with help of the data type none. The data type we are using none to represent no values. So, with help of this you can understand what is the data types we used in the SQLite, what is the equivalent data types we are using in the Python programming language. Then how to create the table. See the code which are useful to create the table. As I said already, we need to follow some systematic approach. First you need to create the connection object, then we need to create the cursor object, then only you can execute the queries. Now see that importing the SQLite SQLite 3 and creating the connection and give your database name, already I covered that, and creating the cursor object, we covered that too already. Now this is important point in this program, this is new point, right. See what is our intention? I want to create the table. So query I am writing is, observe here, within the triple quotes. The meaning of the triple quotes is, if you want to write the query in the multiple lines, you can use triple single quotes or triple double quotes, that is used to write your query in the multiple lines. Now coming to the query, create table if not exists students. The meaning is, this is used to create the table with the name students if the students table is not exist. Then what is the data you want to maintain? You need to give a heading or column names, right. So for the student names, I want to give the column names like ID, or you can say hall ticket number. Okay. And what is the type of the ID in general? Number na. So just now I covered, if you want to work with whole numbers, the data type in the SQL is integer, that is why I am writing integer here. Space, primary key. In the database context, the meaning of the primary key is, it does not accept duplicate values. Generally every student have hall ticket number, but hall ticket number should not be duplicate. Okay, we should not maintain same hall ticket number for the more than one student, that should not be happened in the real time, because that accept only unique values. So if you want to accept such type of the unique values in your database, that column must be declared as a primary key, comma, second column name, student name. My second column heading name is student name. What type of the data I want to store? Name. The data type of the any name is text in the SQL, just now I covered already. So that is why I am writing text here, comma, third column I want to maintain email, that is also a text. So email space text data type. So this is the actual query. Then triple quotes, because I am writing this query in the multiple lines now, that is why I am writing triple quotes. Then close the parenthesis of execute method. So this is how to prepare query, and with help of the execute method, this query will be executed after connecting to the database, this particular database. Whatever the name you are giving this to that particular database, will be connection is created, cursor will be created, and query will be executed. Now after executing this query, a result is generated internally, that is called result set. To that result set, cursor will be connected. The cursor will take the data from the result set line by line or row by row. See here, print table created successfully. In this example, just I want to create the table, okay, and for the confirmation I want to display the message table created successfully. Whenever this is executed successfully, then only we are getting this information. Then connection.commit. Commit is a method that is used to save the changes permanently. If you do any modifications, those will be saved permanently in the database. For that we use commit. Then connection dot close, we created one connection. I said already, after completion of the execution of all the queries as per your requirements, the connection should be closed. For that I am writing this code, connection dot close. So this is complete code which is used to create the table. Okay. After executing that, you are getting the message table created successfully. Now we created the table. After that, how to enter the data into that created table, or how to insert the data into the table? For that we need to create the query cursor dot execute. Remaining is same again. Okay, connection cursor, that is as usual, just change the query. Okay, try to understand the concept. Then while inserting the data into the table, this is suggestible method. We need to use parameterized queries. Different methods are there, different approaches are there. I am using one approach in that. That approach is called parameterized queries. This is very secured method. I suggest you to implement the same method in your project or applications. And in this method, we use question mark symbol to prevent the SQL injection. SQL injection is one type of the cyber related attacks. To prevent that, we can use question mark here. This is very useful thing in the real life. Now, how to write the code? Cursor dot execute, insert into students. This is the actual query. Insert into your table name. In my example, my table name is students. So insert into students. Values is a keyword. How many values you want to enter? Because I created 4 columns in the previous code. 4 times you must write question mark within the double quotes, comma. What are the values you want to enter into that 4 columns? You need to write within the parenthesis. 5 ID, Kiran, student name. After that, what we created? Age, and what is the branch. So depending on your table column names, you need to enter these values. This is how to insert the data into the table. So this is complete code. Connection created, cursor created, and insert the data. And again, suppose this is used to insert one row, and if you want to insert second row, again do the same thing, right? And print records inserted successfully for the clarification. Commit as usual, close the connection. After executing this, 2 rows will be stored successfully in your table. This is how to create the table and how to store the data into that. If you want to read the data from the stored table, if you create the table and data is stored, if you want to read that, just you can use fetch one. Okay. So this is about how to create the connection to the database, how to maintain the connections with SQLite database. So let me summarize. We use SQLite 3 library. In this case, we can use any library, but SQLite 3 is very lightweighted. It uses very less amount of the memories. And we covered what are the different type of the actions we can do, like create the table and write the data, read the data. The approaches is create the connection, create the cursor, write the query, execute the query, and close the connection. So you must follow this method. Okay. Thank you.